The question of whether Dragon Ball GT is canon has been a point of contention for decades, persisting even as newer series like Dragon Ball Super have redefined the franchise's timeline. Though the inclusion of GT in an official timeline by Shueisha in 2017 sparked renewed discussions, fans still lack definitive evidence that GT fully integrates into the core Dragon Ball continuity. The primary reasons for this are creator Akira Toriyama's limited involvement, discrepancies with Dragon Ball Super, and continuity conflicts that are too substantial to ignore. The Shueisha timeline, a reason for debate, not definitive canon. When Shueisha's Dragon Ball timeline, which placed Dragon Ball GT at the end of Dragon Ball Z, resurfaced online, fans were quick to interpret this as evidence of GT's canonical status. However, this timeline does not technically alter GT's standing in the broader canon. While it may be official in terms of publication, the timeline still leaves room for ambiguity since it merely acknowledges GT as existing after DBZ, without explicitly incorporating it into the main story established by Super and Daima. Thus, Shueisha's endorsement does little to impact Toriyama's own stance on GT as a side story. Toriyama's intentions: GT as a grand side story. In a 2005 message for the Dragon Ball GT Dragon Box, Toriyama referred to GT as a grand side story, a term that has been subject to interpretation. Many fans view this label as an indication that GT was meant to exist in an alternate universe, separate from the main continuity. Toriyama himself was minimally involved in GT, contributing only to character designs and approving story outlines. This hands-off approach contrasts sharply with his direct involvement in Dragon Ball Super and Daima, where he had input on storylines, character arcs, and world-building details. Without Toriyama's explicit endorsement, it's difficult to argue that GT fits seamlessly into the main Dragon Ball universe. His distance from the project reinforces the idea that GT was more of an experimental add-on rather than a core part of the series. Continuity conflicts with Dragon Ball Super. The primary issue with making GT canon lies in the continuity clashes with Super. While Super has introduced multiverse and cosmic-level threats, GT maintained a lower power scale. For instance, in Super, Goku and Beerus's first fight nearly threatens the entire universe, a scale not mirrored in GT. Additionally, GT's opening storyline with Emperor Pilaf contradicts Super, where Pilaf and his gang are turned into children by the Dragon Balls. This is not a minor inconsistency, but one that disrupts the foundation of GT's story. Canon and fandom, defining canon in Dragon Ball. To understand why GT is still considered non-canon, it's essential to define what canon means in the context of Dragon Ball. Canon generally refers to works directly created or approved by the series creator, in this case, Toriyama. While GT was produced by Toei Animation, it lacked Toriyama's creative direction. By comparison, Dragon Ball Super and Daima, which feature his input on plot and character arcs, fit squarely within the true Dragon Ball universe. Could GT ever be canon? A potential GT revival with retconned elements might bridge some continuity gaps, particularly if it tied in plot points from Super or Daima. However, as long as it remains a story from which Toriyama was mostly absent, fans will likely continue debating its canonicity. For now, GT remains a beloved but non-canon exploration of the Dragon Ball universe.